This is a quick video to go over the standard page setup requirements for most of the exercises. You'll see that we on each page you'll find something similar to this. If it's different, then you'll see a different set of instructions, but most of them will follow this. You'll start by having a doctype tag that defines the type of page that is there. It has an uppercase doctype and a lowercase HTML. After that, you'll have an opening HTML tag. We'll define the language as English. So we have lang equals en in quotation marks. Now the language is not required by the W3C, but because you want to try to make your pages accessible for screen readers and other devices, you want to do some of these simple accessibility things. So we'll have that, and then we've inside of the head tags, so you have the open and close head tags, you'll have a meta char set equals UTF-8, and here's a little explanation of UTF-8. It is a character encoding that basically allows you to encode any character on the keyboard. And then we'll also have all pages will conform to some degree of well-formedness. One thing that we will follow throughout the class, every exercise, every project, is that all attribute values must be in double quotes. You will lose points if they are not. So here's a couple examples. Another one is all tags must have closing tags, and standalone tags must close themselves. So here's a couple of standalone tags that close themselves with the /, and here's a couple examples of tags that in older HTML you were allowed to leave without a closing tag. That's not going to work in HTML5. So you've got to have a closing tag everywhere. All tags are properly nested. So here's an example of proper nesting where the open and close A is wholly inside of the open and close span, and the open and close span is wholly inside of the open and close div. So if you were to take this close span and put it out here, that would be improper nesting, and that would not work. So everything has to be nested properly, and there are a lot of different tags, so this is just one simple example. And then all tags are in lowercase. So for example, the opening HTML tag and all of these here. So all tags are in lowercase. All the formatting, that is layout of the page, the look and feel of the page, all that should be done using cascading style sheets. And then there's one other thing that you'll see on each solution that we go through, and that is that each page should have an H1 tag. That's not a requirement for an HTML page. That comes back to accessibility. We talked about language equals English up here as an accessibility piece. For meeting accessibility requirements, every page must have one H1 on it, and that H1 would define the page, and accessibility devices actually look for that H1. So let's set one up real quick. I'm going to come to Dreamweaver, do File, New Document. You want to choose PHP. Don't choose the template, just choose PHP. Over here, HTML5, Create. It starts out like this. So the first thing you'll notice is doctype is in lowercase for some reason. Adobe has had a hard time getting this right for years. The previous version I'm using Creative Cloud, but previous versions they had this in all caps, and apparently they figured out that all caps was wrong, but then they went to all lowercase, which is still wrong. This should be an uppercase doctype. And to show you that it's not just me, let's come back to the browser and let's look for W3C doctype. And then let's go out. The W3C sets the standard. That's a World Wide Web consortium. So our first link here, here's our example, doctype HTML. Doctype is in uppercase, HTML in lowercase. Here's an example of the finished file, which is basically what we're doing now in Dreamweaver. So there are older doctypes. If you get into XHTML, which I had done this class as for a long time, It varies there as well, but the W3C says uppercase doctype, lowercase HTML. So that's what we'll do. So we've got our doctype HTML. It automatically gives us, when you choose HTML5 from that drop-down list, it already put in the meta char set equals UTF-8. That was one of our things here. We've got the opening HTML tag. It does not by default have language. You can see it's an option there. So language, EN for us. And there are other languages, but for us, we're specifying EN for English. And again, the reason that's not there automatically is that's for accessibility. It's not a requirement for an HTML page to run. It's a requirement for devices that we would connect to. So we'll put some spaces. Everything else, as you know, goes in between the open and closed body. So we've got this one, this one, this one, and then the rest is following the well-formedness constraints. I mentioned the H1, so we'll go ahead and make sure that each one of our pages does have an H1 in it for accessibility, and that's the standard page setup requirements for each page that you'll create. So you'll just make sure that it has those elements there. And again, you're going to see this particular piece on each one of the assignments.